Hello. So painting waves, or patterns that the waves make. Let's first of all start with this blank canvas board, and I just want to map out the horizon and the main areas of water shapes first. So here's a halfway, here's a quarter. Let's put the horizon on the quarter. Let's just bring that across. Doesn't have to be anything special. It's a sea. It's wavy. There we go. Just rough in. Let's make that a little bit lighter. I'm adding on the palette. I've got titanium white, Naples yellow, which has got titanium white in it. It's a mix of, and a blue which is made up of white, Naples yellow and indigo, and another blue which is slightly darker, and that's it. It's exactly the same. It's indigo with less titanium white and Naples yellow in it. I've also got on the palette a magenta. I'll explain why I've got magenta on there as when we get there. Okay, so firstly, this is the horizon. Let's make it a little bit leveler. Leveler is a good word to use. Now, that gives us our horizon of where the sky meets the sea. And let's now just map in some of these shapes. So I'm going to kind of feel I've got a wave coming across here. Now this is a big wave. Okay, it's like there's waves within waves within waves. A lot of people think it's just a wave. It's not. So you've got the mass water, which is it's like a hill, which comes into a valley. And then within those hills and valleys, you've got lumps of rocks or little shapes, little shapes. It's water, right? So let's now put that in. I'm going to go to darker blue, and I'm going to put dark at the top. And the reason for this is as you come to the crest of the wave, you're looking into the water, whereas the trough of the wave, you're looking at a reflection of the sky. So here we're going to have some dark blues, and I'm not really fussed about this. I'm just going to rub it in. I think if you're too precious with things, then it becomes complicated. I don't like complicated, so just scrub this in. And you can see this blue is made up, that's what I mean by indigo, bit of Naples yellow, and not a lot of white, but just maybe a little bit. You put this in, and this is, like I said, it's a mass of water. It's not so much a wave, I suppose, as a large amount of water coming in like an energy. Now, as we get further down, we're going to make that lighter. Sorry about me coughing. Jaws of not being 100% currently, but never mind. Now I'm doing this on a on a wooden panel, which is I'm not sure of the size of it actually, but it's quite small, bit bigger, between an A4 and an A5. Scrub this in. So I'm not using a lot of paint. This is the base colour, so we don't need a lot of paint on this. It's what we're going to be painting on too. Here we go, just rub that in, smooth that out, and we've got a bit of dark and a bit of light. Now I can add to that by putting some Naples yellow and white in at the bottom, just to make that a little bit whiter, lighter, get it right in a minute. Tell this is unscripted. There we go, and I'm just kissing that left and right, up and down, to make it a smooth transition. At this stage, that's all I'm interested in doing. Now we come to the next bit. So again, a bit more white, a bit more Naples yellow added to this light colour. And that's where we start rubbing that in. Probably should have had some solvent or whatever to make this an easier transition, but never mind, we'll persevere with it. Paint's just a little bit sticky, dry. Smooth that edge out. Continue with this colour, just coming across, bit of Naples yellow, bit of blue. Don't be too precious. And this is, like I said, it's kind of the trough of the wave behind. Coming into a bit of dark. I'm using the same brush, don't judge me. Just want to make this a quick demo. That's it. And now more Naples yellow, more white, and a lighter colour again. And we bring this up to the horizon. Now, as you go up, it gets lighter, more Naples yellow. So a bit more white, a bit more Naples yellow. It comes into here, smooth that out. And like I said, this is just the rough shape of the bigger waves. If you look at the sea and you glaze over, you just literally look outward seaward and you glaze, you can see these large waves. They are like hills, and they're slow moving, and they literally form the larger shapes of the distant sea. And on top of those, you then get the sea energy coming in, which are smaller waves. And they are the ones which ride these big shapes. And so you've got this very slow moving, large wave movement, and then you've got these smaller waves coming in. And then on top of those, you've got smaller waves. And on top of those, it's smaller waves. It gets fragments, yeah? Fractalism, is it? I better say that gently, but anyway, moving on. So here we're now borderline into the horizon. Let's bring that down, smooth it out. You don't want anything big. You can see now these big shapes coming in. Now let's look at the sky. I'm just going to add more Naples yellow, more white onto this light blue. Let's make that a little bit more obvious. Bring it down here. Usual typical summer's day in the UK. Grey. Very little blue. If we paint too happy a sky, people won't recognise it. That's it. Not going to be too fussed with the horizon. If it's going to be flat-ish, that's great. In actual fact, I'm going to almost just disappear the horizon into the distance so it's not even there. That way we don't have to worry about it. It's out there somewhere, as they say. We don't need to define it. Sometimes if you define a horizon, you spend hours and hours and hours trying to get it just perfect. Whereas if the horizon disappears in like a massive fog or sea mist, well, you'd have to worry about it, do you? Sorted. There we go. Let's rub that at the top. Look, hint of blue sky coming in. Gosh, it must be a UK summer day. Here we go, look at that. So there's hardly any paint on this. It's really like scrubbed in. And the beauty of that is I don't need to cut through any paint to make additional shapes. Where there's too much paint on the canvas or the board, it's just going to slosh around, and that's going to be no good to anybody, man nor beast, as I say. Right, we've got this, and I'm just going to step back and check to see if it looks okay. Yeah, it's fine. Now, with that done, let's take a 2-second break. Right, we're back, and I'm going to start by going quite dark, and I'm going to add a little bit of the magenta to this blue, which will take it darker and make it purpley-esque. There we go, a bit of Martinez for you. Now, what I want to try to establish here is some of the dark shapes, the crests. Just bring this across. Could even go darker. Oops, that was a bit of a genuine mistake, never mind. Yeah, I could have easily gone a bit darker than this, but never mind. We're here now, we'll continue. And these shapes are, what's the best way to look at them? It's like, think of it as a bird's body. And then you see you've got the bird's body, and then you've got the wings. Okay, so wing, bird's body, wing. Start it again so it's in view. So wing, bird's body, and then wing. So it's like this. Let's get this brush out of my hand. So it's like this, and then the body, and then the wing again. And that's the sort of shape. So you don't want to do this. It's not coming up. You're not painting Kilimanjaro. So here, come up and go down. Let's bring this down. Yeah, I feel I should have actually probably done a little bit darker colour to make this easier to see, but never mind. As we go down here, it'll become easier. Although it will blend in with what is there because it's wet. And you put these in quite randomly. Ideally speaking, we'll go in with the shape of the wave. So that would help things. Now this is just the darks. These little sort of shapes coming through. Try to be random with the shapes. Don't make them all the same because that's really not very useful. More red, or magenta I should say. Okay, we're kind of getting there. Then we come into the distance, and this again, it's the bird's shape, the bird's body, and then a bit of wing. So you just put these in randomly. Sometimes it's easier to put the lights in than the darks, so don't think you have to do it this way. There's many different ways of doing stuff. And the further you go back, these are going to get smaller. In a sense of they're not going to be as high. So this can be quite high like that, but in the distant ones are going to be flatter, smaller. Think of perspective here if you can. I'm going to wiggle that across. There we go. Comes up, goes down. And just take that across and go smaller a little bit if we can. I'm using quite a large brush here. It's about I don't know, maybe just 3/4 of an inch or something. So I could have used a smaller brush. Now we're going to put some random shapes in fairly sort of flat here because it's in the distance. We're not going to see a lot of it. And it's almost like the brush I'm now putting in as a flat stroke into these distance waves, distant waves. I nearly said hills. And obviously in the extreme distance, you'd have hardly no shape at all visible. And it'll be looking something along those lines. And already you can see the pattern of the wave and the sea coming into play. Now we want to get some lights in, so it's Naples yellow and white, and a little bit of the blue, but not much. Load the brush up. Now what we want to do is we want to put in some of the, it's like a smiley face, but it's not going to be like this. It's kind of going to be just like that, okay? And a series of them as we go down. So let's start here, and we can put this in. And we come down, we put another one in. We chase the reflections in the trough. And the trough of the wave is the bottom of the wave. And we're going to try and mimic the shape of the wave as well. So it comes up. You can see the smiley face, and there'll be a few there'll be some joining up. Don't do this as a massive blend. We really don't want that as a blend. You can see what I mean by this now. It already begins to take its shape. So you got on the trough, you'll have these light shapes crossing over. It's a shallow smiley face. Try and think of it in that way. These are lots of little happy smiley faces, and it's the trough of the wave. As you come further down, it's you can become more dynamic with the shapes. So in other words, you can put in a happier face if you want to look at it that way. I'll do a more detailed video of this later, where it'll be more structured, maybe a bit more, what do I call it, broken down into its sections, so that you can benefit from what this the theory behind it. I'll explain more, but right now I just want to get this in so you've got something to work on. There we go. And you can really begin to see how that starts to work. Again, coming in, holding the brush like this is great because you've got more flexibility on the shape that you're doing. Again, do think of Naples yellow, don't just stick white in. And like here, we can chase the wave down, come across. It is quite wet, so we are picking up a lot of the blue, but there you go. Maybe I should have used a medium. A good medium for something like this, I feel, would be Venetian Turps. It's slightly, well, it's a lot sticky. And so after 10 minutes of paint being on, or a colour being on the board, it'll go sticky and allow you to put more paint on without it blending. It will blend if you rub it, but it'll just accept the new colour, and it just makes it easier to paint when you're wet on wet. If you're painting a lot of on plein air stuff in you know, live out there, then you'll know all about Venetian turpentine, because it's an extremely useful medium when it comes to doing things like this. Can you see how this begins to take shape? And I'm rushing this because I'm not really paying much attention to anything. I'm just putting in these smiley shapes. If I was to give this some more considered design thought, then I'd be planned, and I'd do several sketches. I would know the shapes I want to use. I'd have more of the colours broken down, and I'd even definitely have some fluids around the place to help me get these right shapes. Now, as I'm going further back, you'll notice the shapes are flatter. They're not as dynamic a shape. I use the word Kilimanjaros. I mean, don't paint mountains for, it's a sea. Anything which is coming in like this, it's going to be a tsunami. You're going to end up with a massive statement on what's coming in, and you don't need that. It's more realistic to less is more, in other words, if you look at it that way. So here we go, a few shapes coming in. Now you notice I'm not really blending because the sea, bless it, is like facets of a diamond. It comes up and then it breaks and it comes down, and it's like this. There's a little bit of blend initially, but now you want to be painting and not blending as much to create these facets. Now I'm going to continue with this light, and I'm just taking away anything that I feel is a wrong statement, put it that way, for the now. What I mean by that is something doesn't look right, well, just remove it. Don't think about it. Don't spend 10 minutes or half an hour thinking about doing something, just do it. If it's wrong, well, it's wrong. All right. Here we go. Now I'm just going to bleed that colour up. And again, like I said, I'm going to lose the horizon. So we get a kind of feeling of mist, sea mist or fog. And that's what we want to do in this particular case. I don't want it to be about a horizon line. And yeah, can you see how simple that is to do? Now, if we come back to the shorter brush, which gives you a bit more control. You can see this, if I put it there, it's a chisel brush. And now we can really just shape some of these in. To create a little bit more definition, shall we say. Don't want to put too much in. So I think we pretty much got it nailed. It's just here I can really create a sense of facet, for want of a better word. And some hard shapes complicating this up. Again, if I'd used a sticky medium or a medium which would have dried really quick, which obviously using oils, there's lots of mediums you can choose. But I think we're there. And all we're left with is a sense of, you can see this big wave which kind of comes up here, and you should be able to see like another wave which kind of follows across in this direction around there, and that's what we want. We want these big waves to be our statement of direction of everything, and the smaller waves will be on top of those, complicating it. I do prefer to use the word complicate rather than detail. Here we go. Right, now the use of magenta, just get some of this red on here. It just adds a bit of tension to the whole scene. Red brings things forward, blues will recede. And if you want this to look nearer, add a little bit of warmth to it, and it will do. It'll bring it like nearer in. I must learn to speak English one day. Clearly not today. Right, I think we're pretty much going to call it quits at that. Now, that gives a base which we can, when it's dry, we can put a second layer on, and we can really bring out the form. For example, we could put in some extreme highlights. We could put in a few, I don't think I can do it now because it's a bit wet, but let's just give it a go, show you what I mean. Here we can maybe put a bit of foam that comes down. It's going to be a bit tricky, I think, because it is so wet. But we'll see if we can do this, just to demonstrate and show you. So we're now, it's like the foam which you get on the top of waves. This is really what we want to be doing. There's some foam patterns which we can put in place as it rides down the wave. Like here, for example, we can have a bit of foam coming up, and a foam pattern which comes down and rides it. So extremely simple, quite sort of elementary basic stuff here, nothing too complicated. The more you do, the better it will be, obviously, because you get good at what you're doing. First time you do anything, it's normally never as good as what it is at the second or third time, because you're learning. There we go, just a bit of, so yeah, that's probably a bit too much, but never mind. And again, this, and then tickle down. Couple more in here. Right, we're pretty much done, I think. I don't want to mess this around too much. So easy to, you know, get lost at sea, as I say. Okay, I'm just going to put a bit of dark back in, which we kind of lost on some of that. I think they're pretty much there, for the now anyway. Yeah, so an ABC elementary book 1 3 to 5 year old example of, you get the main shapes of that big wave, like a hill in the distance, or hills in the distance. And obviously, as they get further back, those waves get slightly smaller. They're not as high. And on top of those waves, you then got the energy of the main waves coming in, the smaller waves, which are the ones which crash into the, on the beach and give you all those wonderful sort of breakers. So you can see, just to reiterate it, you can see one here. This is a big wave coming in, but there's a whole energy of that wave coming across like this. Here we can see a wave coming round like this, and then there's these little waves breaking that up. As you go into distance, it gets flatter, break the horizon into nothing. It's mist, it's fog. Have a go at practicing that and see where it comes. Okay, thanks very much for watching.